Recognizes Ms. Luna from Florida.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on something Representative Donalds had pointed out and mentioned that the average median household income is roughly about $70,000 in 2021, which is a decrease from the year prior. Not to mention how devalued our current U.S. dollar is. So to talk about electric vehicles being cheaper for those that are less fortunate and live in rural communities, I think is an absolute a farce. But I did want to point out, being that we are oversight, we all know with what happened last week that the Biden administration, the Biden family has a history and apparently transactions of really benefiting themselves and those that help them. I wanted to submit this to Record Chairman. It's a diagram that my team put together, and it has the slush fund of political donors and companies that help to elect Joe Biden and those that are receiving the very same green initiatives.
Without objection, so ordered.
Perfect. So just to kind of explain it here, and then I'll get to my questions. Starting in February of 2023, Biden's Department of Energy shelled out nearly $3 billion in loans to two electric battery companies, Redwood Materials and Ioneer. The two companies are backed from funding from both Bill Gates and Powell, of which Bill Gates poured $127 million into a liberal dark money network to elect Democrats. And then in July of 2021, Redwood raised $700 million from a group of investors that included, again, both Gates and Powell, of which Powell gave jobs exclusively to leftist candidates and political groups that raised over $2 million. It goes forward to say that Ioneer won a $700 million loan from the Biden administration and saw its stock price increase by 33% after the announcement. And I'd just like to point out that the Biden administration did not invite Tesla to their EV event that they had at the White House. That's probably because Elon Musk is very based and doesn't have much to say about this administration or their impact on the environment. And then I'd like to go forward and say that John Arnold, who gave $13.5 million to one liberal dark money group from 2016 to 2020, also contributed in helping elect this administration. So to say that this administration is really working in the best interest of the green movement and protecting the environment, I think, according to the facts, is false. My questions, though, are for Mr. Bradbury. What should we do when we're told to evacuate ahead of hurricanes? I'm in the state of Florida. The electric grid is overloaded, and we're stuck in a standstill traffic for hours, and tens of thousands of people are pouring onto our freeways.
I guess you'd have to hitchhike with somebody who has an internal combustion engine car. I think that's why a lot of consumers are concerned right now, a little skeptical about whether an EV is the right choice for them. They're not sure whether they'll have convenient access to charging. And in California, we see some rationing and restrictions on the hours when people can charge. And I think that concerns a lot of people. There are a lot of question marks in exactly that area.
I did want to bring up Brandstetter? Did I say that correctly?
Baker Brandstetter.
Baker. I'll just Baker, if that's okay with you. So I'm a part of the House Democracy Coalition, and I just got back from a CODEL where we actually met with some of those countries that are now looking into doing lithium mining, right? But one of the countries that we met with specifically that you said, is going green was South Korea. And it was interesting for us because we did ask them, well, are you going to be embracing nuclear energy? Are you completely shutting out petroleum? And they said that it would be basically something that would be detrimental to their people if they were to completely just go from solely petroleum dependent to just electric, and that they couldn't handle that. I just wanted to get your perspective on that, because South Korea is indeed one of, I think, the most incredible countries in the world. Indonesia said the exact same thing, as you, I'm sure, are tracking. They just received a contract from Ford for lithium mining, and I'm sure Tesla will be doing that as well over there, and they're also interested in receiving some of the credits from the IRA. But they also are depending on petroleum. And so given that that's a circumstance, although you're saying that we are moving towards a green initiative and it's supposed to be better for Americans, we're still outsourcing and doing it in countries that are embracing petroleum and nuclear energy. What are your thoughts? Sorry, I have 27 seconds left.
So the U.S. grid has a lot more diversity and resources than the South Korean grid, and so relying on homegrown domestic energy through the electric grid here is a much different scenario compared to South Korea. We do not import any products that use forced labor in the United States, and we should continue to do that.
I think that that's a little bit false, though, being that lithium and cobalt mines in the Congo are what we use to manufacture our goods, and we're still using those products. That's actually, I think, one of the biggest arguments that Representative Donald had. But Chairman, I'm done with my time, so thank you.
Thank you. Chair now recognizes Ms. Stanbury from New Mexico.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being